Production of the BMW i3 officially ended in July of 2022. That makes this i3s one of the very last to come out of the factory in Leipzig, Germany. Can you believe that this car launched nearly 10 years ago in 2013? It was a huge deal for BMW back at the time, as their very first mass-produced all-electric vehicle. It makes me a little sad knowing that the i3 range is no longer going to continue, because I still think it looks modern, unique and quirky even after all this time. It's boxy and awkwardly tall, yet somehow quite cute and sporty looking, especially in this S trim. I love the design of the headlights and the taillights, and I love the contrasting black elements on the bumper, the tailgate and the side graphics. I think they just look really cool. It's also surprisingly practical. Being a hatchback and having that high roof, you can really fit quite a lot in the boot, and of course the rear seats fold down for extra space. The boot floor is quite high given that this is where the motor's located, making this car rear-wheel drive. There's also a very small frunk, only good for keeping the charging cables and first aid kit. Another super unique and iconic feature of this car is the clamshell doors, sometimes referred to as suicide doors. They make getting in and out of the rear of the car super easy and they just look so good. Although you have to remember to close the rear door before closing the front door, or you can do some damage to the paintwork. The interior of the i3 feels very spacious, again because of the high roofline and also the lack of centre console dividing the driver and passenger leg space. It's a great design with some really interesting materials like this fake wood effect, which actually looks quite cool, and the recycled plastic dash, which does glare onto the windscreen in bright sunlight. This car also has dark truffle brown leather, which looks pretty classy. The chassis of this car was also pretty revolutionary, being an ultra-lightweight carbon fibre reinforced plastic, just another one of those unique design features of this car. Where the car's starting to feel its age is the infotainment system. It has an older version of BMW's iDrive, which is missing a lot of the features you find in the newer models. For example, no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, although I think it might be possible to add this via retrofit. There's also no Spotify app, so you have very limited control when playing music from your phone. I've also found issues with the DAB radio in this car, which gets really bad signal and frequently cuts out. I've heard this from other i3 drivers as well, so I don't think it's just an issue with this car. The i3s is a blast to drive. It's genuinely quick within the range of speeds you're allowed to do on public roads. It gives instant torque and gets up to the limit very quickly. I've never experienced any issues with traction under acceleration or cornering, which is surprising given how skinny the tyres are. There are 4 main driving modes, being Sport, Comfort, Eco Pro and Eco Pro Plus. And they all do have a purpose, and I found myself using all of them at some point in time. The main effect of changing the driving mode is the steering and throttle response. There's no adaptive suspension in the i3. Sport makes the throttle response much sharper and gives you instant torque, as well as adding weight to the steering. Comfort is best for more relaxed driving, and then the 2 Eco Pro modes allow you to try and conserve energy if you need that extra range. The first Eco Pro mode reduces the throttle response to limit your acceleration, as well as limiting your top speed to 76 miles an hour. Eco Pro Plus takes this even further and limits your speed to 56 miles an hour, as well as disabling some of the climate functions to conserve yet more energy. The WLTP range on this car is claimed to be up to 190 miles, but in my experience you can probably get 150 miles out of it if you're careful, or just over 100 miles if you're not being so careful. But for our household it's perfect because 90% of our journeys are within 10 miles, and we only really need to charge the car once a week on average. We have used the i3 on several occasions for round trips in excess of 100 miles, but it can be a bit nerve-wracking when your range starts to get low. We charge at home or at work and have never had to use a public charger, so I can't comment on that. The suspension in this car is very firm and can be a bit harsh. I guess the big wheels and the stiff chassis don't really help, but to be honest, it's not so terrible that I care too much about it. So in conclusion, I'm a big fan of the i3. It's a great car for people who tend to stay local and have the ability to charge at home. It'll save you a ton in fuel, it looks cool and it's a lot of fun. The second-hand prices seem to be getting pretty cheap now, so I think it's a great option. This is my first ever video review, so it'd be great to hear your feedback in the comments and if this format is something I should continue with going forward. Thanks for watching.